Viking sports followers. So we're back with another interview today. We've got a niece who's a boxer. Does a lot of sparring and obviously professional fights with as well. But today's purpose of the interview is to get some stories about sparring and his boxing experience and just see what he's all about really. So what I'll do is I'll get him in and we'll start the interview. Okay, so just waiting for Anise to join, and we'll get started. Okay, so same as before with any interview, if you have any questions, then obviously pop them in the comments below, and obviously we'll try and get round to them and see what we can do. It'll be hopefully a very good and interesting interview, a bit different to what we normally offer when we do an interview with a boxer or ex-boxer. It would be good to get some insight as to what it's like to be involved with sparring and some very highly rated boxers. As I said, most recently he was involved in the camp with Tom Little. So it would be good to get some stories from that, and also some past experiences as well as to what he's done. You all right, Anis?
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. So thank you very much for coming on today and taking the time to come and speak to us. As I said to you, it's going to do it a little bit different to what we normally do with boxers that we get on, because I know that you were recently involved in Tom Little's camp amongst obviously other people. So it'd be quite good for our amateur fighters to get a bit of an insight as to what to expect when it comes around to them assisting with some sparring, and then also just to get to know you a bit better, if that's okay as well.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate it. So starting off with, obviously, Tom Little was in to fight Babbage, and you and a couple others were involved in his camp. What was it like being involved in Tom Little's camp? Because I come down just as he was starting camp, and he was just so focused and determined. He stuck to everything that he possibly could and put everything in place that he possibly could. Obviously, didn't get the outcome that, as a Tom Little fan myself, but Babbage is a fantastic fighter. How was that experience to start off with?
It was good. It was the first time I was actually involved in a full, I think it was about 8 to 9 week camp.
Yeah.
So I've as an amateur, I have helped out a number of pros when they've been looking for sparring and looking for certain aspects of sparring. But to start with, I was never supposed to be the main sparring partner.
Okay.
I was going to be his warm-up. So probably when you'd come down, so let's say he was fighting on the 29th. I think we started sparring in October.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to just be the first 4-round sparring, just get him warm and get him tuned up for when he has, the guys who are going to be coming at him. Simply because my style that I look to implement is all wrong. My main style that I box with, I'm a counter boxer, and I'm a counter boxer puncher. So I can hit, but I'm not looking to put my foot down. I'm not looking to come at you like Babbage does. I'm not looking to be the aggressor as such.
Okay.
Now, I'll happily box in phases. I'll come at you. I don't mind that. But doing the bobbing, the weaving, the peekaboo style isn't something that I've used in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Or 6 years.
Yeah.
I haven't used it since 2000. Well, not actually more than that. Yeah, 6 years. 2014 to 15 was
Yeah.
the last time I properly used that style. Um, so getting involved in it, Josh Burnham,
Yeah.
he turned around and he said, "Look, Anise, I just want you to do the first 4 rounds," and then we were supposed to do it on the end of the week. But what happened is the guy who was supposed to be coming down, he was supposed to have one session before I was helping, like
Yeah.
doing one round of it, doing a few rounds of him. And that guy pulled out. So Josh said
Okay.
to me, Anise, can you, and this was on a Tuesday afternoon, he was like, can you spar tomorrow? I was like, yeah. So he was like, Tom. I was like, yeah, all right. I'm not fit, but I was
Yeah.
like, if I start blowing, I'll just start throwing. And the thing with me is, if I do get in a fight, in sparring in previous years and fights, I've got that ability and I've got it's that bit of heart to bite down
Mm.
and just start throwing.
Yeah.
So, and I knew exactly what they wanted. And I had a feeling when the Babic fight was being talked about, and it was something that Tom said, look, I'm going for it now. We're going to
Yeah.
have it. So before it actually got properly announced, before everyone knew about it, I was already gearing up, watching Babic. And because I've got a
Mm.
similar stature to what Babic has, I thought, you know what, I might get asked to come and spar him,
Yeah.
like all the time. So I was already watching the stuff Babic did once. Sorry, I just had to
That's
make sure I don't get any notifications blocking the camera. So yeah, so where I'd been watching Babic, so I thought rather than trying to be the aggressor, I just went after Tom with the Babic
Yeah.
style, putting on a bit of an accent, talking in his ear,
Yeah.
pushing him and imploring him to try and hit me. And
Yeah.
if he'd hit me, and don't get me wrong, for someone who's anyone over, I'd say light heavyweight, that weight, 14 odd stone, 15
Yeah.
stone, 16 stone, even if you don't hit hard, you've still got that weight advantage where if you use your weight, right, you've still got X amount of stone behind your punch. So I ended up doing the sparring, and I put it on Tom, telling him, "Come on and hit
Yeah.
me." And it wasn't cockiness. It wasn't trying to show him I'm better than you or whatnot. It was I was trying to get into that Alan Babic's mind because you'd seen him switch between Savage
Yeah.
and Alan, and it's like Josh has said in previous interviews himself, he's a bit crazy. But the thing that I always like to say is that if you're gonna get if you're gonna do a sport like this, boxing, where you're basically signing up to get smacked for pretty much free,
Yeah.
you got to be some sort of crazy.
Yeah.
So it was actually good, and over the weeks it just got more and more intense, and it
Mm.
was what I was expecting. And as obviously Tom got fitter, I was involved in pretty much most of the boxing stuff. I'd been with
Yeah.
Tom, so it was a good thing. And to end it all with the fight, no disrespect to Tom, I love him. I love him to bits. Maybe at the end of it, maybe during the fight, it was a case of did he want to, and it's something that no one can tell you. Do you want to
Mm.
stand there and take these shots? And Tom, he got hit, and Babic does hit, and we've spoken about sort of what Tom took in the fight and how they came at him, and it wasn't anything that it wasn't like he hadn't prepared for it.
Yeah.
Babic is throwing 90 odd shots around with power, and the
Yeah.
thing that I was doing was, and I've gone back counted, I'm hitting 80 to 90 to 100 punches around,
Wow.
throwing them, and I'm loading everything up. And Josh said to me, look, try not to load everything because you might blow yourself out. But I was just thinking to myself, I'll just put my head down, start swinging if I have to.
Yeah.
So I reckon if Tom had taken boxing, not that he didn't take it serious, but if he'd put this amount of effort into it before, I don't think it would have been as it wouldn't. I don't think the fight would have gone how it did. Because I
Yeah.
think it's that thing where you've had 6 months of fighting like this, where you've
Yeah.
put everything into it. But sort of like taking myself for example, I've been boxing since 2012, but I've
Yeah.
always put everything into training from 2014 onwards, I've had everything in training. So it's when I get into a fight, I'm not. It's not like I'm not used to the hard work. Whereas Tom, he's admitted it himself that in the
Mm.
past he has shied away from the hard work sometimes.
Yeah.
And I do think that takes a toll on people, because if it's ingrained in you to hit hard, if it's ingrained in you to to work for X amount of rounds,
Yeah.
X amount of punches per round, you're going to get used to it, and it's going to be hard to take you away from that. And when
Yeah.
you try and implement a change, if it's done over a short period of time, like 6 months, sounds long, but it's not. In boxing, if you've been boxing for, like Tom, he's been boxing since he was about 10, 11 years old,
Yeah.
training and whatnot, or probably longer than that. But 20 odd years of being a certain way, and you're trying to change it in 6 months, it's hard to do.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, obviously, I could see he put so much effort in. Obviously, I saw him in Saudi, and he admitted firsthand that there wasn't a camp as such, and he really put the effort in this. Josh said, you've said yourself, and it was a shame, but obviously, he's obviously now retired, and go on to do things within the sport, which will be good.
I think with his retirement, I think he has questioned himself in essence, in respects to if I put it in beforehand. But he won't have any doubts that he put it in for this fight, and Babic came off best in this fight, which is fair play to Babic. He is a bit of a monster.
Yeah.
What did he make? He made about 96 kilos or 97 kilos. I think it was 218. I think he weighed in. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It wasn't too far from Tom. They were quite close.
Yeah, because Tom had gotten down quite well. And again, could that have been a reason that Tom wasn't used to it? Because he'd shifted a lot of weight.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Had he been the 110, 115 kilo or 120 kilo Tom that we're used to seeing, could it have been different? Possibly.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he done himself proud. He done us all proud.
Yeah.
And the first thing I said to him is, when I spoke to him, I was like, "Look, I'm proud of you. Regardless of what happened, he put that work in. We were doing the circuits, everything we're doing. There's no excuses. It's He looked at me. I was like, "Come on, let's do it." And it's like bouncing off each other. It was a good experience, and I was happy to have helped out with this. Been a part of, even if it was just for a few months. Been a part of the should we say the winding up of his career as a boxer.
Yeah, no, definitely. And talking about those circuits, firsthand, I've seen it with Tom, and it's just as a fan, obviously I'm lucky enough to obviously have seen a couple of sessions now, and it's brutal. I take my hat off. It's every single boxer, amateur or pro, when they're going through it, and it's tough. It really is tough.
But we're in a tough old sport, so like they say, like that saying, you see a lot of prospects, amateurs, pros, whatever. Iron sharpens iron, or metal sharpens metal. It's that same thing. We're in a tough old sport, and you need to make sure you're toughened, because otherwise you'll get found out eventually. Might not be now, might not be in a few years, might be coming down to it. You'll realize who's been in and about it. Those who will just look at it. I don't really want to do it anymore. So it's one of those things.
Yeah, and obviously you've had some experience within the Finchley ABC.
Yeah.
You had Sean and Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, who were helping you along with your career.
Yeah.
How was the experience in that gym? Because obviously they've pulled out Derek Chisora, Shani Courtney. Obviously, probably their most biggest success in that gym is probably Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
How was your experience, being in the Finchley ABC?
What some people don't realise is that I've actually been I wouldn't say but I've been tied to Finchley since the start of my career.
Wow.
So I started off at St Albans in 2012, St Albans ABC, which is the president of the club,
Mm.
is Sean's dad. And
Okay.
Sean boxed for St Albans as an amateur.
Oh,
So I'd started off there, and I'd had Sean in, he'd seen my first fight. I had my first fight on a Finchley show. So
yeah.
he's always been involved some way, whether a little bit or whether, readily involved.
Mm.
He's always been involved and always been about, and it's always been prevalent in my career. He's always
Yeah.
been there to give words of wisdom, give advice where he can, without trying to step on my trainer's toes. But the thing that I always saw it as that my club and Finchley were sister clubs, because it's basically run by Sean's the head coach of Finchley, and
Yeah.
Sean's dad is the head of my club.
Yeah.
So having them in my corner, it made sense as
Mm.
a pro. When I decided to turn over, I had the question of whether I was going to go towards Olympic qualification with Pakistan or
Yeah.
whether I was going to turn pro. And I took the advice of my grandfather. We had countless number of, me and my granddad sat down, and he's the head of the family and he's done everything for me, and it's always like to get his take and sort of like his blessings on,
Yeah.
what he feels. And that wasn't something that I could do, especially because it's Pakistan. I've been there a number of times, but the
Mm.
person who knows the country, out the whole family, who knows it best will be my grandfather.
Yeah.
So when I spoke to him, and they wanted me to live there for a number of months, and my
Okay.
grandfather but it was in a part of Pakistan that we're not really in.
Yeah.
That our family, we're not there. So it would have been something. It would have been hard, being alone as well, because most of my family is back in our village. So it's
Okay.
not like I could be back with, my extended family or
Yeah.
have people around me that know me. It would be, I'm in a totally different part I'm about 4 hours away from or 3 hours away from the home village.
Yeah.
So my grandfather said to me he'd prefer it. He goes, the decision is mine at the end of it. He goes, look, I think it might be better for you to turn pro and give yourself a chance at pro.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe it's time. I got a
Yeah.
bit disenfranchised with the amateur game. The point scoring and everything, it's all good and well.
Mm.
But nearing the end of my career, of my amateur career, shall I say,
Yeah.
I was getting more into later rounds. I was sparring 6, 7 rounds, 8
Oh,
rounds. So it weren't like I was doing 3-round spars, which is what my coaches near the end tried implementing again. Rather
yeah.
than doing 6 or 7, doing 4 at the max or 5 at a fast pace. Rather than, because I would get into the sparring and I'll start picking it up come round 4, 5, 6, 7,
Okay.
8. So it was something that we felt as a group, and I had a few meetings with John Murphy, Sean's dad.
Yeah.
I see him as my customato. He's my as we call him, Grandad John. He's another one I went to because he knows all about boxing, and
Yeah.
he decided as well. He said the best thing is to possibly turn pro. So
Okay.
I had a meeting with my manager Mo Pryor, and I was like, you know what, John's recommended him. Sean knows him. I was like, you know what, fair enough. I'll sign with him. I had some advice off Steve Collins in regards to other management companies. So I ended up going with what Steve had advised and what John and Sean were saying. Look, Mo's a good guy. So I was like, you know what, fair enough. Let's go for him. He handled Danny Murphy, Sean's son. So and where he had him, he was handled him all right for what he had.
Mm.
So when it comes to having a trainer, I asked my original amateur coaches, Jim Crawley, Ray Duffy, but Jim's got his normal. He's a plasterer by trade,
Okay.
so he wasn't, really. It would be harsh to say to him, yeah, turn pro with me, but he's still got to make a living for himself. He's still got a mortgage to pay. He's still got family to feed, and especially at the start of professional boxing, until you make any, you're not making anything.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the amateur game where you're boxing pretty much for free or for pence on the pound.
Okay.
So that's when John spoke with Sean, and Sean and Gary agreed. You know what? They'll train me. So
Yeah.
me and there was a few of us to start with that were turning pro or turned pro through Finchley, boys that I'd trained with at Finchley as well. So when I turned over, they were already used to me. So for me, it was the best thing because they've seen me spar, they've seen me fight. I used to spar down Finchley pretty much every Friday for several years, regular, because
Wow.
I would never have anyone 91 kilos or even 81 in my gym. But Finchley's always been known for having the heavies and the super heavies come
Yeah.
through. So that helped me for that. And going with them, like I said, it was the best thing. They knew my weaknesses, they knew my strengths, so it's stuff
Yeah.
that we can work on going forward. And it was a good experience. Even having AJ in the corner. I know AJ from when I've been sparring down Finchley. He knows he's
Yeah.
from Watford, so we know of each other. So it was nice being in that environment. And then
Yeah.
COVID came, and then we had to Sean and Gary. At the original lockdown, we were saying, oh, if boxing comes back, it'll be October time, was what my manager was saying. He was
Yeah.
saying we could be getting a fight. And because of the restrictions on rule of 10 and stuff like this, and
Yeah.
Sean and Gary had always said, look, we're amateur coaches first. So there may be a time where one of them is not available, but the other would always do my corner. So they wouldn't leave me without a trainer. And
Yeah.
I was happy with that because I thought for me, the best thing was they knew me. I don't have to try and prove myself in front
Yeah.
of anyone. I don't need to show them what I could do. They know what to work with. So then eventually it come down to it that we doubt if we were going to be fighting, they wouldn't be able to train me. And Sean and Gary, it was upsetting because it weren't just trainers; it was like a family.
Yeah.
So I think it was June, July, they said, look, we can't give you 100%. If we come back
Yeah.
now, we can't give you 100%. And if you're going to be fighting in October, you need a coach who can.
Yeah.
Which is where I then started looking around for coaches, arranged a few meetings. And Mo Pryor, my manager, he arranged one with Josh Burnham.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first meeting I went to. And
Yeah.
and I can tell a person by speaking to them, how they are, if they're trying to,
Yeah.
sort of like, if they're trying to bullshit me, if they're trying to bluff me, I'm
Yeah.
going to veer away from that person. But he was straightforward. And that's
Yeah.
sort of what I like. I don't need someone to sugarcoat it for me. I don't need someone to tell me I'm doing good when I'm not, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me. If I'm rubbish, I want you to say it to my face, that was rubbish. I don't
Yeah.
want you to try and sugarcoat everything. So from what he was talking, it seemed good. And I was like, you know what? Forget the rest. And I apologized to the other people that I'd made the meetings with. I was like, look, I think I found the guy. I apologize. If I don't get on with the guy, I will arrange another meeting. I hope you
Yeah.
don't find it disrespectful. I thought that would be the best way to do it because I didn't want to go around looking at meetings. I just wanted to get training again.
Yeah.
So me and Josh, we hooked up, had a few weeks, then I had a week off because I had some work and stuff to do. So I had a few weeks just getting to know him. But he's a few years older. We know the same sort of people because he's from Bushy, I'm from Watford. We know he might be a few years older,
Yeah.
but we've always had that, especially in schools where you get the guys a little bit older than you, a little bit younger than you. So we knew a few of the same people, got the same sort of banter, and it's good. But at
Yeah.
the same point, we both know about banter, but it's also we know when to turn off the banter and get down to business
Yeah.
when it's time to work. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing. But it was a good experience especially seeing AJ
Yeah.
in and around the gym, seeing him working, speaking to Joby Clayton, speaking
Yeah.
to Angel Fernandez, getting their insight on stuff, having them watch my sparring that I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a realist and I'm quite harsh on myself, especially in boxing, because if it's not good, I'm not going to rank it as at the sparring, let's say. So if I
Yeah.
don't think it's gone well, I'm going to be annoyed at myself if I know I could do stuff. And there was one spar in particular where, Josh, Ben, his cousin Benga, Angel, Joby was there as well.
Yeah.
That it was decent sparring, but me and myself, I knew that I'd done rubbish. Not
Yeah,
because I'd got caught by too much, but because I weren't landing the sort of shots that I normally would land on the sparring partner. And I
yeah,
was a bit annoyed, like not because that guy's improved. Me and him are really good friends, the guy I was sparring. But at the same point, it's like I know I can do better than that.
yeah,
So it was good hearing there what they thought and what these people are more seasoned than I am.
yeah,
What they thought of the sparring because
yeah,
everyone brings a different perspective to everything. So they saw things that I was doing that was good, and there was stuff that I thought and I thought they weren't good. But
mm,
you always get that that sort of how can you say it? Different perspectives from
yeah,
different people, and it's always good having that. You should never. I feel like you should never just be one person trying to give advice. In essence, you should always have different. Just like with Josh Burnham, you've got him. You've got his right hand man. In essence, Daryl Spalter. You've got Aaron forget his surname. But another coach,
yeah,
Azza. Everyone. They've all got their different what they think I'm doing well, what they think maybe we should adjust this. But it's good to have different, just not just
yeah,
one point of view. Well, it's always good having one point of view, but sometimes it might be a little bit biased. So if I
yeah,
think I've done really, really good, but I've done rubbish, you need to have other people bring you back down to earth, and
yeah,
vice versa. When you do rubbish, but you actually, when you feel you've done rubbish, but you've done well, you need that.
yeah, 100%. Well, it's been fantastic to get an insight for sparring for our amateurs and what that's actually like. And just being brutally honest that it isn't easy. Obviously, they know it's not an easy sport.
Yeah.
With respect as well, knowing a bit more about you and where you've come from with within the Finchley ABC and what that's like, it's been a real insight, and I really appreciate you coming on.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
All right, I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.